Hello, everybody. A warm welcome to a premiere. The premiere of a new online format, the Across Company Live session. My name is Reinhard Wieniwater. I'm the publisher of Across magazine, and I'm very pleased that so many people across Europe are here today. What exactly is the Across Company Live session? We have found that our online formats are very popular and successful. For this reason, we wanted to develop a format that is specially tailored for companies that want to present current and industry relevant content. And I'm very happy to have found a great partner in Sonae's era for our first Across Company Live session. The topic of today's session couldn't be more exciting: rethinking real estate. What is the agenda for today? We have three great keynote speakers. First, post-pandemic trends by Rafael Pelote. He is head of intelligence and strategy. The second one, healthcare and well-being are shaping retail real estate by José Maria Robles, head of property management in Italy. And the third one is future solutions of real estate by João Pedro Santos, head of conceptual design and architecture. Each of these keynote speeches will take about 15 minutes. Then there is a Q&A session, so please ask your questions. Use the Q&A function in Zoom. All in all, the session will last around 60 minutes. So let's not waste any time. I ask Rafael for the first presentation. The stage is yours.
Well, and thank you so much, Reinhard. It's a real pleasure to be, and a real challenge to be the first speaker in this new format. And it's a real privilege to be here with you. So I would say, first of all, welcome to all the attendees to this new format. So yes, I will be talking a little bit about post-pandemic commercial real estate trends. And I will try to address this issue under the perspective of, is there a future for brick and mortar? Talking about trends and COVID-19, we have to first of all understand that many of the trends that we are talking about today existed before COVID-19 hit us. COVID-19 acted a lot as a catalyzer and an intensifier of many of these trends, leveraging some of the behaviors that were already somehow identified and patterned, but in the end of the day, it also added new ones. And we can look into some of these from the perspective of COVID-19 being an accelerator, things like e-commerce growth, home working, teleworking, the reduction of fashion consumption, which already existed from before, healthier and sustainable lifestyle intensifiers, but also as a disruptor. We had impacts coming up and being talked at, such as low-touch economy, tourism reduction, or the search for proximity as something that COVID-19 came to present us. Some disruptors are expected to be transitory. We believe, like low-touch economy and tourism reduction, will probably be reducing severely within the near future. And I just brought these couple of pictures from the reopening of some shopping centers from a couple of weeks ago here in Portugal, just to show how low-touch economy is actually being substituted by the eagerness of returning to the physical space and to the retail space. In some shopping centers, such as Norte Shopping in Oporto, from where the first picture was taken, queues in order to attend one of the largest anchor stores extended down to the car park, even though considering that we were taking all cautions and measures in order to make sure that social distancing had been guaranteed. So what we will be doing now over the next 15 minutes is looking a little bit into some of these trends and trying to understand how these will be impacting retail and how they'll be impacting shopping centers in particular. So let's start first of all with e-com. COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact both on e-com penetration and share of wallet, yes. Somehow it leapfrogged growth into a new plateau. But we need to remember that in the European Union, and after this adjustment, or after what we believe is going to be the forecast for the near future, there will be still 85% of, around 85% of retail sales happening in the brick and mortar world. And of course, it's something that we can understand from this perspective, is that the expectation on the e-com growth will resume the normal course of growth after this plateau adjustment that we have seen during the pandemic, but with a high probability of presenting a mild slowing down on post-pandemic period as a compensation for this anticipation pandemic for the near futures. And we can even confirm this from even the pictures that we've shown you before. This first post-lockdown indications show eagerness on the return to the physical space. So what's in it for commercial real estate implications? Now, brands, they have to respond to the challenge of this new challenge that is still far from being profitable. But that has gained momentum, in fact, over this last decade, and especially during this last year or so during the pandemic. This new context is going to help reshape the landscape of brick and mortar retail, as retailers will be making some strategic choices in selecting their physical portfolio. So we know that brands realize that there are a lot of portfolio optimization opportunities. They will tend to open and enlarge stores in prime locations. They will open showrooms. They will open flagship concepts that allow consumers to engage with the brand and to enable subsequent online experiences, but will be reducing the footprint in secondary locations. Naturally, this is going to have an impact on business models. The contractual models will need to become more flexible, and I will be talking a little bit more about that in a few slides. The reduction of fashion space in shopping malls is definitely going to be a consequence. We know lots of examples. You know, Inditex has announced to be closing, for instance, 297 stores only in Spain since 2012, but the next phase has increased, focusing on opening some flagship outlets in prime locations. Until 2022, they are planning, according to what they're saying, on closing between 1,000 and 1,200 smaller stores out of the total around 7,300 stores that they have. But they are also announcing to open 150 each year in strategic locations. So, also flagship stores. Many brands are opening flagship stores to showcase their brand and to showcase their product. Their intent is to draw consumers into the brand over and above making sales. It's engagement. It's talking about engagement. It's talking about experience. It's talking about creating destination stores that people will want to visit. And this will not only boost in-store sales, but also it will create awareness about the brand, generating omni-channeling sales. And also showrooming. One creative alternative to traditional brick and mortar storefronts is setting up showrooms. Intimate salons, some the size of a cafe, coffee shop. Shoppers can examine a limited selection of merchandise and place orders for products to be delivered or collected later. Just an example would be IKEA's tested the planning studio concept, where visitors were allowed to see last trends, plans, and also to order products to be delivered later at home or from a specific IKEA store. So as brands reassess their footprint and portfolio, shopping center segmentation will become a core concept. Prime will be in a stronger position to deal with brands becoming more powerful, and secondary tiers might require repositioning efforts and reassessing their competitiveness. Shopping centers will need to define crosswise and deepwise digital strategy in order to be able to embrace in full the implications of this omni-channeling world. This has to be a staple on shopping center strategies. It's no longer the pure offline companies that add online as a new channel, but also pure online companies are now moving into the offline to engage consumers. And shopping centers should embrace omni-channel as a staple, and besides provide digital infrastructure to allow it, they clearly define the digital strategy for portfolio in a higher level, crosswise and deepwise. It's also taking advantage of the halo effect that exists from the pick and collect in the physical space, and to naturally endow the offline retail with the digital experiences that enriches the consumer visit, keeping it attractive to encourage repetition. So brands will favor locations with an integrated approach to the omnichannel world, both from the tech side and the physical side. Infrastructure needs to be adapted to incorporate micro storage, last mile delivery, and I will dare to say that shopping centers will play a critical role on the last mile logistics arena. But also to take advantage from this halo effect of click and collect. Another trend that is impacting and was impacted strongly by COVID-19 as a catalyzer has been work flexibility. And this, we know that over these last 15 years or so, there has been significant evolutions in the European workforce that was already had some type of a flexible working arrangement. We understand that there has been a significant growth in people that sometimes were working from home as a percentage of the total employment, as this graph shows. And this has an implication on the retail spaces that will need to merge with working spaces. This has an implication on how weekly shopping is going to become much more functional than it was before, because they will be engaging the space where they work with the space where they shop. And there's going to be naturally a reduction of window shopping that will impact impulse buying. So all of this means that this hybrid remote COVID accelerated trend of remote work is going to have an impact on how people shop and how they deal with shopping centers and retail spaces as well. And for this to happen and for this to materialize, the catchment areas will be shifting as well. We will no longer be looking at catchment areas as a drive time paradigm. It's going to be much more the integration of new mobility layers. These new mobility layers will basically mean that the traditional approach of location will be much more focused on integration, centrality, and proximity, as location will become more critical than ever, but in a much different sense than what used to be. No longer, as I say, drive time catchment areas, much more convenience integration of multiple layers of use, which will then therefore move into the intensification and the creation of mixed-use ecosystems as the new centralities. So from a shopping and entertainment destination into a multi-purpose destination is basically what is going to be demanded, what's going to be looked for by the consumer. There are some examples here that mix all these contexts of retail, working space, residential space, etc. Changes in the consumer journey will result on these new mobility trends, and home working will demand for a new third place, this urban mixed-use spaces. And the rise of ever more connected ecosystems will act as an enabler for the shopping center industry to reinforce the need to go beyond services offered, addressing infrastructure integration in creating a seamlessly environment with the region and the city. So office areas mixed with transportation hubs, mixed with high residential density, mixed with public services, all of this will be coming together to make it unique, differentiating destinations. Also, now looking a little bit into the consumer and new values and habits. We understand that millennials and now younger generations have embraced new consumption values, such as frugality, health and well-being, environmental friendliness, social consciousness. And this is having an impact on, for instance, the reducing of fashion consumption. We know that 58% of the European consumers already assumed that they will be decreasing their spending in apparel. And the fashion category has been historically dominant in shopping center industries, although the fashion concepts have been evolving to accommodate experience and social responsibility trends. The large groups are proposing, the large group proposing multiple brands have exhausted segmentation capacity. And now they are evolving towards omni-channel-based strategies anchored by selected brick and mortar flagships, but reassessing naturally footprint on secondary locations, as I've said before. Also environmental sustainability and also healthier lifestyles have been somehow reinforcing all these changes. And for this to, and the implication of all this has to be that, in fact, the tenant mix is going to evolve, the tenant mix is going to innovate, it will need to innovate. Acceleration on the digital channel will require a swift response from the owner and the property managers, enabling the integration of the center and its brand into marketplaces, for instance, extending the range of the mix into a long tail of complementary proposals. And long tail is going to be a little bit the core word here. New leading concepts, along with a lot of testing, contract flexibility will need to be determined. You know, prime locations will hold additional value for the retailers, not translated into OCR, while secondary locations will be mainly driven by unit profitability, and OCR will increase its importance, even becoming a contractual proxy for rent. There has to be a new contractual model that will need to be developed, yes, as the contractual landscape widens. And I would say that new business analytics will become more relevant and supported by technological innovations such as geolocation and mobile tracking. In fact, I would dare to say that if it weren't for GDPR constraints that we all know, the existing technology would have widespread by now. And the contract flexibility would be probably today even more present in some of these aspects that we can find. So, to end my presentation, I would say that given all this context, given all these changes, I would say there is a brilliant future for brick and mortar as long as companies, owners, developers, and property managers are able to, four things. First of all, be agile and flexible and decide quickly and move fast. It's really critical to move fast in a highly competitive environment as we have today. Second, to become companies that are tech savvy at its core. Technology is going to be critical, and to integrate all these layers in several aspects, not just the physical aspect of the building, but the experience, but the omni-channeling. All of this is going to be based on technology. Third, the capacity to integrate business ecosystems, and I wouldn't dare to say not just business ecosystems, but physical ecosystems as well. Shopping centers will need to be able to integrate into the multi-use ecosystem that surrounds it. And operators, property managers, owners, they will have to be capable of integrating with other businesses that complement themselves and create ecosystems that add value proposition surplus to the customer and to the retailer. Fourth, the ability to break the dependency cycles, not fearing disruption. And I'm talking about specifically on aspects such as the fashion dependency on the tenant mix. It's going to be critical for companies to be able to innovate, create disruption, and to be able to step down from some dependency cycles that are critical and have been a constant in this business. So I would say the future is positive for brick and mortar. There are challenges, but naturally this is a very, very adaptable industry that at its core has been capable to respond to the trends from not just the consumer in general, but also the brands and the investors. So Reinhard, very challenging to put all this into a 15-minute speech, but I would like to thank you for the challenge, and I would move on to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Rafael. It was a real high-class entry. Thank you. Dear audience, if you have any questions, please ask us. We try to answer as many questions as possible at the end in the Q&A session. Yes, the next one. Jose, you're next. The stage is yours.
Well, let me. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is José Robles. I'm the property manager of Sierra, Italy. Before starting to moving ahead with the slide that I prepared, I would like to introduce you the structure of my today's presentation. So the presentation is going to be divided into three parts. So firstly, I will introduce you the case study that we did in 2019. So the idea behind this study was to analyze the performance of the health and well-being in Sierra portfolio. And then we'll try to answer the following question. Is health and well-being still a macro trend for commercial real estate? We made this study in 2019. As you know, since then, we have gone through an event never seen before. And I think that trying to understand if the evolution of this macro trend is going to be still positive is going to be really, really important. Second, I will introduce you a new potential anchor, always talking about this macro cluster. So a potential anchor from this macro cluster. And finally, I will share with you some examples of this category that we have in our portfolio, because I think that this category, more than anyone else, have the capacity to solve problems in the mix and in the layout. So, talking about the case study. So we back in 2019, as also Rafael mentioned, so health and well-being was a consolidated macro trend, one of the most important future trend impacting many aspects of our lives. The hypothesis of this study was trying to check in our portfolio, in our shopping center, if the offer of our mix was adapting to this new trend of health and well-being, and most important, if the brand in that category are good or not, good or bad performers. Let me also introduce just a few words about the tenant that we include in this category, because health and well-being is a concept transversal to more than just one category. So we include in the health and well-being food brands related with health and natural food, personal care shops, medical spaces, and gyms. The sample of the study were the shopping center from Sonae Sierra in the European portfolio. Those shopping centers were shopping centers owned by Sierra, but also in which Sierra performs third-party services, and are located in Portugal, Spain, Germany, Italy, and Romania. The sample is 32 shopping centers. I will present, I'm not going through all the entire study, but I will introduce you the two probably more important KPIs to give you a clear picture of the performance of this macro trend in our portfolio. I will show you the evolution of sales and rent per square meter during the last 10 years. So we are analyzing the data for 2010 till 2019, both included. As you can see in this slide, the bottom line, the dot line, is the sales per square meter of the entire portfolio. And the dark line is the evolution of the sales per square meter of this particular cluster. So as you can see, the main takeaway is that health and well-being was evolving positively in sales per square meter, so plus 8% when compared with the overall sales per square meter. So meaning that this is an interesting growing category. The second very important KPI is the rent per square meter. So again, you can see in the dot line is the rent per square meter of the total portfolio, and in the dark line is the evolution of the rent of this health and well-being category. The evolution of this category is positive, so plus 6% when we compare with the overall rent, confirming again the importance of the category. Just a note regarding to the rents of this category, because we know that traditionally some of the tenants that are including in the health and well-being are paying lower rent, but due to their size or the business model that they use, But what is really interesting to see in the evolution of this line regarding to the rent, the evolution of the rent, is that the entire category overperforms the average. So that is mainly due to the increasing numbers of new formats, which are good performance per square meter. So I have presented briefly the two main KPIs regarding to the evolution of this macro trend in our portfolio. So you with these two KPIs, you have seen that the evolution of sales and rents per square meter is quite positive. But again, this was in 2019, so we have to think and to rethink and to retest what is the future outlook of this category. One, we think that this category is still strong and is going to be still strong after the pandemic. And I would like to answer suddenly that is yes. No, we have checked and analyzed that the increased demand for new formats on health and wellness, but also on fitness formats. So there is a strong demand that are demanding new services in the case of health and wellness. So and also they are going to take advantage of the retailization of new services in the health sector. I'm talking about all the part of genoma or genetic part of the equation, but also we have seen the needs for new innovative format in the fitness side. So we have seen in the past the low-cost model. There are also some specific format dedicated only women, but also the strong demand for a specific workout. So we have seen the increase of CrossFit fitness, for instance, but also new formats for tactfit, spinning, and on top of that, all the new demand requesting all the mindfulness part of the well-being that is also is going to play a good role in the future. Also, we think that this trend is going to maintain positive on a positive mode in the future due to the capacity of maintain the loyalty and the visit frequency of their clients, because the particular services that they provide. So I'm thinking in the health sector. So once that you starting to use in one particular clinic, you continuously go into that particular clinic. Also the regular sales weight per month. And also one particular characteristic is that we have identified very briefly is also they are working on leveraging in the brand loyalty in trying to get also on board the millennial part of the demand. So that is something that they are working very well, and we believe that is going to be also important. But most important than anyone, I think, and the more clear one is regarding to the aging population. I think that there is no doubt about that the people is living longer, but they want to live better. And I think that there is no doubt also that the share of wallet that the population is going to dedicate to this macro trend is going to grow in the future. So as I told you, I started we presented two important KPIs about the study that we did until 2019, but that they show a very positive performance of this macro cluster. But the future is also positive. So for that reason, I'm going to move to the second part of my presentation, which is related to the new anchors. And the new anchors coming from this part of for this trend. We probably will see a reshape in our mix due to the pandemic crisis. So some of the traditional anchors will suffer or die, and we should find new tenants to occupy those spaces. And I think that we have a good opportunity in this macro sector. I'm going to introduce you a potential anchors, which is probably not so well known from sector, but I think that we can leverage on that to create new anchors in our shopping center. And we are going to analyze briefly from both sides. So we are going to see why we are important for them and why they are important for us. So starting about why we are important for healthcare providers. So the healthcare system recognized that they need to increase their market share. And they need to increase that market share to compete. And one of the best way to get the services in front of more people is to open in places like retail center where foot traffic is high. The second point is regarding to the patient-centered. So how much more center could it be than to locate in malls? So they will be close to the current and the future customer. And another important factor is that they need to free up space in the crowded hospital. And additionally, doing construction at a hospital is much more expensive and time-consuming than doing in a retail center. Other retail centers typically have access to significant parking space, most of which are often free. So occupying a mall space makes perfect logical and financial sense. Now, what are the benefits from the property owners and rental agents? So traditionally, this kind of tenant are low risk. They have a very good credit rating, so it's a low risk tenant for the owner. Are able to sign longer contracts. So contrary to what is happening with another tenants, they are willing to stay for a longer period. And once that they stay in one location, they want to stay for a longer, because the high cost of setting in a hospital or a clinical center makes them much more likely to stay. Most importantly, the overall revenue generated by healthcare clinic of every size and scope and across every specialty makes them an excellent investment option. Regarding to the cross-selling capacity that they have, I will introduce you later on one example that is going to prove that. But what happened is that the majority of the visitors of the hospital or clinic make purchase in other store when they visit the hospital. So it's I would say a potential good opportunity to dig in. I think that it's a opportunity that we have to elaborate and to analyze deeply, because there are many factors that benefit both sides of the equation, and hopefully we are going to have more opportunities to replace some of the tenants that we have currently in our portfolio. I will move now to the examples. So I will start with a hospital. So I think that Sonae opened a hospital of about 2,600 square meters in 2 shopping centers under management. The impact was 10% increase in visit and 5% increase in sales in the rest of the mall. And I think that this is something that is quite linking with what I was saying before relating to the cross-selling. So the capacity of these anchors to increase also the sales and traffic for the entire shopping center. The second example of this is Anna Dance. So Anna Dance is a dance school site in one of the top performance shopping centers in Romania, Park Lake. They have a GLA of 1,600 square meters. And they are a very good alternative for a traditional gym. So they are doing classes for kids, but dance classes. But what is also important is that they have a space dedicated to the parents. So it's more than a kids school, it's a family school, and they have more than 500 kids doing classes regularly. And the last example of this category is UNECO. So UNECO is a surgery clinic. So they have all the beauty treatment. They do filler, Botox treatment. They are site in City Life Shopping Center in Milan. And normally they move from 180 till 300 square meter ELA. And one particularly history related to this tenant is that when we started to negotiate with them, we started the leasing process, we showed them some spaces that were a little bit high in the mall, but because we thought that their customer didn't want it to be seen getting in or getting out after a treatment. But the owner confirmed us that their clients don't care about that, and they wanted to be in the more visible space in the mall. So I put you the picture with an arrow just to identify the location that they have in the main square of this shopping center. So just as a wrap up of my presentation, we are analyzing this new macro trend, this category. I present you in 2 KPIs the results of the study that we did in 2019 that were very positive, the evolution of the sales and the rents per square meter of this category. We analyze also, we guess that this macro trend is going to be also positive for the future. We have seen a potential new anchors. So we talk briefly, but I think that the idea is to analyze better the alternative of hospital inside the shopping centers. And finally, I present you some of the example of this category that hopefully will help you to introduce new brand for this category in your mall. So that is all from my hand. I will be available in the Q&A section. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jose, for this extremely innovative approach. And I also see that there are already some questions. Dear audience, please go on, continue like this. Use the Q&A function. I would like to, let's say, to have some questions at the end for our Q&A session. It makes everything more interesting here. João, you are next. I ask for your presentation, please.
Yes, I am. So, hello, everyone. I'm João Pedro Santos. I'm the head of Conceptual Design and Architecture Department at REFI, Sonae. And I will try to show some examples of the thoughts that Rafael sent to us, and also share some of the ideas that José Robles showed in the point of view of new projects that we are developing. So I will show some images of 4 projects that are ongoing. So I will not show the projects as being done, because all these projects have been started this year, also during the pandemic, and so show how we are seeing the evolution in the future solutions for the real estate. So going on, let's start with the first words that show us where to go. And the new paradigm is if we are free, and we have to think that we have a condition of freedom now. First, from now on, we cannot be like this girl jumping or dancing in the street, but we hope to be soon. But even when we start to be, we'll be afraid of what can happen to us. And so that means that we have to go slowly. But at the same time, the pandemic shows us a different efficiency. It's difficult to start a meeting late. But before the pandemic and before all these new technologies, we used to come, at least in Portugal, late to the meetings. So we have now new efficiency, of course, that is led by all this new digital era, but it's true that it's different from what we were expecting and that we were living until now. And at the end, these key sentences, as this one has been also described by Rafael, this is the new centrality. The globalization came to our lives, but now they are becoming quite virtual, and we are bringing a new centrality to ourselves. So that's the things that are by our sides, our new territory. And so with this, I will start with the presentation of the first project. So it's the synergy that Rafael talked about. This is an existing shopping that is already on performance, and we are building a new office building. But the main important point here is the new connection. Of course, that the new buildings, office buildings, are different from what we were designing until now. It will be like also like for retail that Rafael talked about, the flagships and the showrooms. We are expecting that the office will be also something not for a day-to-day basis. Probably we will not go to the office every day, but when we go, we want to be in the perfect place. Being the perfect place so that location will be good, will be great, and being an anchor of a shopping center is something that is a plus. So that's what we are creating in this. So this is the plot that is still empty, and we are making here the connections, the synergies between the shopping center and then to the bottom to a hypermarket. These connections cannot be only in one point, so it will be also underground and also by a bridge. And we can see also that the office is different. So we will have a roof garden because we need exterior spaces, and we will have 450 square meters of terraces. So we are losing space? No, we are not. We are getting better spaces, and we need to be outside, and we need to be more freedom in that condition, freedom of course, but we are looking for freedom. And so going on from this project, I will try to show, because I don't have so much time to present so much projects that I wanted, to the new situation that makes connection with José Robles. This is a project of converting an industrial area, existing one, in a multi-use proposal, like Rafael already told, but getting here with the healthcare. So we are creating an hospital, senior housing, retail, and residential. And all these work together because the synergies that we have from the senior housing to the hospital, we can understand quite well, but also for the retail, because people now are looking for also other kind of products. And so we are finding other opportunities besides the traditional one that is the office or the residential. And that's why we are making these connections, and we have the connections on the ground level, but also underground, so that people can cross from the different spaces and be enjoyable in this unique project. The next one is about a new synergy that is taking care of taking out car parking from a shopping center. Of course, that today we don't use so much car as before. We have the car sharing, we have the Ubers, we have everything that require less private transportation, at least the ones that we had in mind 20 years ago. And so that allow us to develop this project that is taking out the part of the parking and creating residential top. This residential top also show us our vision for in real estate for the residential. So we don't need so much big houses, but we need exterior spaces. So this project that is going on have 1,700 square of private terraces area, plus 1,000 of square meters of roof garden area. All the apartments that are facing south with beautiful views have pools, The other ones to the north, to the historic area, don't have pools, but have a beautiful view. And that shows that what we require is also for mixed-use development projects is that we change, and even if we are looking for small houses, because we can afford big ones, we give more importance to the exterior spaces. And so that's when we finally arrive to the last project, that is retail and university. If we started from the retail and mixing with office, then with residential and hospital, and after we reach to the residential, now it's the opposite. It's a university campus that requires a retail. And these opportunities is something that we are working with. They also need to create these synergies, because the new territory that people are looking for require that. And so that's why we are building, constructing on, in this case, project building in a campus, an university campus, with retail, with student housing, supermarket, food market, so that can give the importance of all these activities to campus. And with that, I finish my presentation just on time as promised, and I will be available for the questions, please.
Thank you, João. Great presentation. Yeah, and apparently our audience thinks that we have a number of questions. And for example, let's go into detail. There is one interesting question to Rafael. Which personal customer data will gain relevance in the near future?
It's a very good question, and I would like to thank the person who posed it, because I think that on what concerns data and customer data in particular, it has a lot to do with the nature of the property and the what we are expecting to leverage with it. And as I've spoken before, as I've said before in my presentation, we cannot, we will need to move from the traditional concept of drive time catchment areas into this multi-layer approach of mixed use and different types of usages. Therefore, it's expectable that the strategies, the shopping center capturing strategies, will need to move from penetration more into frequency and loyalty and share of wallet. Therefore, I would say customer data that is going to gain relevance is the one that enables the tracking of your consumer under this new perspective, leveraging on frequency, leveraging on loyalty, leveraging on share of wallet. So I would say these KPIs, if you're able to track them on a geofenced way, they're going to be critical for most of these new generation multi-use properties.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks a lot. There is a very interesting question to José. Do you think that having healthcare as a dominant anchor takes the sexiness from shopping centers? What do you think?
Well, we have to define sexiness, but I think that it's going to be an evolution, and also from their side. I guess the meaning of the question is sometimes some of these retailers are still doing shops without the architectural or the image that we normally request in a portfolio. I think that with the support of the specialists, architect specialists on retail, and with the necessity that they have to be in a shopping center or presented or close to the customer, I think that is something, if the question is related to the image, is something that is quite easy to solve. If it's related to the kind of mix, I think that we have to mix up more of the theme as possible, depending on the demand of the customer. So it's not a question of what we think. I think that we have to do a market fit with the demand of the clients. And this is an opportunity. I think I'm not saying that we have to do hospital as an anchor in all shopping center, but I think that it's an opportunity that we have to analyze.
Okay. In addition to that, there is a very interesting question from Dr. Hüttermann from Germany. He asked, do the new users, like hospitals, participate in the Retailers Marketing Association?
Well, hospitals, I don't think so, honestly, but I don't know. I think that's what we have so far. If it's in the retail association, I think if they are paying, if the question is if they are participating in the common charges, the answer is yes. If they're participating in the retail association from I would say political point of view or being representative in the consortium, I don't know, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This question will go to João. The user asked, are we going to be more like mini-city approach by adding more these multi-use schemes concepts and creating even more the sense of multi-city centers?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. So all these synergies will create like small cities, at least for those days that people leave home and leave their shelter, their space, their new centrality, and goes to the new city that could be those spaces for with the office, retail, hospitals. So yes, it's correct. I believe in that.
Okay. A question for Rafael, also very interesting. Given the still significant demand for cheap, fast fashion, how much of an impact do you see in the near term of the growing desire for more sustainable products?
Thanks, Paul, for the question. It's a great question. I think that, yes, there's going to be still significant demand for cheap, fast fashion. But we can also see from what's happening to some of the brands within the fringe of that segment that this demand is already becoming less relevant, I would say. It's somehow decreasing or focusing more on the extreme of the cheap, fast fashion. I think that in general terms, it's what it's doing is polarizing more and more the segmentation within fashion. And as we know, who's in the between is the one that is going to suffer the most. So what we are looking into is a more significant polarization, and the middle typically is the areas that are going to suffer more. And when I talk about polarization, it's not just between fast fashion and luxury, the luxury segments from the lifestyle, affordable, etc., but also the fact that when you're looking into sustainable product, you are looking at probably paying a premium. So this would come out in the end as a new, probably parallel segment within the upper end of the spectrum of fashion offer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you see a natural correlation with cultural uses, art, social, town hall experience, and so on? Is there a correlation? What do you think?
Yes, I see that. I see that. We started from looking for the leisure, and of course that we got it to the new markets, and the anchor cannot be only simple leisure like children playground. And so we make that correlation to the cultural art, social, town hall, everything. That's we are looking. It's for experiences, and so that's why the flagships are there for the experiences. So, correct.
Okay. Very interesting question. Is retail architecture dead?
No, it's not. What we are doing is that we are changing the direction of some points. So they are as I explained before. So we will work from house, but we will also have the office. So we will change our habits, but they will be there. And so the architecture, retail architecture will not be dead because they will exist. And Rafael showed that they exist. And I showed that I am having projects to do that, even if they are mixed use, but we have also other opportunities to create retail where they were not before. So that's why I brought the idea of the campus. So not correct. It's not there.
Also very interesting, because a very practical question, can leisure or alternative uses afford rents similar to retail?
For me or for Rafael?
It's a very good question. Do you want to take it, Jose, or do you want me?
Well, I'm going to try to answer. Traditionally, retail is the one that has paid the higher rent. That is clear. But probably because they get the big chunk of the share of wallet of the people. No, I think that alternative use are going to be able to pay higher rent if they get or they succeed in their business models. Otherwise, the answer is no, because but we have to think that there are alternative use, alternative leisure that we have still to be seen, because we have a lot of work to do in that part in order to find a better solution for the leisure, in order to pay a logical rent. But probably the solution is not also paying the same rents as in the retail was paying. Probably we have to rethink to reduce also the construction cost, to reduce other costs that allow new tenant to get in the centers, in order to attract more demand and to increase from another point of view, not only for the fixed rent. So we have to it's not a question yes or no. I think that this is an evolution that we are going to see in the future.
I would like to add also that we are talking about footfall. We are talking about increasing the visibility of the shops. And so we are changing from what was before leisure and some attraction to the new ones. But that doesn't mean that we are losing, we are converting. And so, for instance, when we have the apartments that I brought that example of the apartment in a car parking, we are bringing more people to that space. So I don't believe that we will lose money at the end of the case, because we are only converting for those that are demanding and that we can bring for that football.
Okay, here also a very interesting one question to Rafael and João. How long will it take until we see these projects working? 3 years? Question mark. All these trends uniform in different countries?
Yes, I will. Well, Rafael, go first.
No,
because
you first, João.
Okay. Yes, we are, and I would like to say also about that. So these things are changing much more quicker, and in the retail area we usually work too fast, and we must, because the trends, more than the trends, all the dynamic of all these things are much quicker. And so at least, yes, maximum 3 years we will see some of these projects already finished. And if these trends will be uniform in different countries, it depends in the position of the country, of course. If you are talking about emergent country, will not be. at least for now. But will be something that will arrive there. Sooner or later we'll arrive there, but in a different speeds, of course.
Yeah, I agree with João. I would only add that these trends are obviously very transversal. So it's something that we will be, or we will expect to be happening in all sorts of markets. So having said so, I totally agree. We will be seeing some projects in less than 3 years responding to all these trends. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Very optimistic outlook. But unfortunately, our time is slowly coming to an end. But what I still want to do now, I ask our 3 keynote speakers for a short final statement. What are, in your opinion, the top 3 success factors for future projects? Very short answers, please. Let's start with Rafael.
Okay. Flexibility, integration. And when I'm talking about integration, is not just in terms of ecosystems of layers, but also businesses, and capability to break dependency cycles.
Okay.
Well, I will say 3 words for the future success: talent, courage, and grit.
Okay.
Okay, and I will say anticipating the future. In real estate, we work for 5 to 10 years. I know that I have answered for 3, but okay, from 3 to 10 years. And so we need to anticipate the future. We need unique products. We cannot go with the flow. And we need, as Rafael said, flexibility and also dynamic. Everything are changing so quick that we need to catch that flow.
Perfect. So many thanks from my side for this really extremely exciting, informative and entertaining session. It was, for me, it was a great premiere of our new format, the cross-company live session. For the audience, an important information, we will posting a summary of the live session and the link to the video on our website. I hope we can do it by Friday. And we will also send out via newsletter also the summary. And please also let me know how you like this first live session. Feedback for me is very welcome. And if you also want to hold a live session, please contact me also. And finally, please allow me to make an announcement, because the next Across Retail talk will take place on May 19th, 3 p.m., moderated by Klaus Striebich and me. And the topic is also very interesting. It's what's new in retail. And we welcome Laurent Pouffet from Maus Frère, Julia Anna-Lehnert from Amrest, and the CEO of Umdash, the store maker Silvio Kirchmeier. I think it's also a very interesting discussion. You can register now directly on our website. So many thanks to the keynote speakers. It was a great show. Thank you. Many thanks to all of you for watching. Yeah, and greetings from Vienna. Goodbye and auf Wiedersehen. Ciao.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.